I was really forced to blog one day. But if I was going to blog, it was going to be about... Oh, that's another story I'll tell you in a minute. But, but I just realized that I was going to be all over the place. I would write whatever struck my fancy that day. And I started thinking, what can I call something like that? And I thought, well, I'm going to write about everything but the kitchen sink. And I'm like, aha.
Is there a kitchen sink that is really special to you, though?
There certainly is. I don't know why, but the kitchen period is something that, if you go back in your childhood, people are always in the kitchen. And when David's mother and daddy passed, they were asking, was there anything in the house I wanted? Well, immediately I wanted the kitchen towels. But I'm an in-law, not a sister, and so I was treading carefully, even though they're very kind and were loving toward me. And so afterwards I told David, I said, the house was very old and had not been taken care of for years because his daddy fell into poor health. And I said, when y'all sell or if you tear the house down, can I have the kitchen sink? And they all said, sure. And I now have that kitchen sink.
Isn't that awesome? That's so awesome. Do you call your husband husband and your daughter daughter at home?
No. I call them, hey you and come here, and that's interchangeable to the both of them. No, I did that on the blogs to remain a little bit removed, because I've had like 90 different countries reading my blog, and why, I don't know. These people need to get a life, but I can see why people around here would, but really? Italy? Germany?
They like kitchens.
Weird, I don't know. But anyway, so I did that just sort of, they don't know me, obviously, and I just kind of wanted to remove just a little bit, so I thought husband and daughter would do it.
We've been talking about fish all week. Fish came up in your blog. I don't know if you can do this, but can you do a little thing on fish?
Sure. We always have a fish, just one. Those betta, and I have a very wide windowsill above my kitchen sink, and he lives there, and he loves, he likes watching us in the kitchen. And I have two measuring devices that I use on Friday night. One is what my mother used to measure my formula with when I was a baby, and the other is a measuring cup, because when I got married, you get two of everything. Well, I didn't get any measuring cups, so Mother gave me her old one. Well, now you can't even read the measurement on any of them. I fill those two things up with water on Friday night and change his bowl on Saturday. And they're way up here, see, out of the way. And then we have beautiful other measuring cups, and for some reason, I was getting my coffee, had drank my coffee and was coming back to rinse my cup out, and I noticed my fish measuring cup in the drainer, and I'm like, oh, I can't believe this. So I marched myself into the living room, and I said, did you use that measuring cup to make our coffee? Yeah, why? Well, because I don't ever watch that. And so we started with, I thought it was fishy. I thought something was fishy about the coffee this morning. And we just went on and on and on for days. And then my daughter got in on it, and she says, do you expect me to swallow that hook, line, and sinker? I mean, we just went on for the whole day. So that's my fish story. At first, I thought you wanted me to make a face like a fish when you asked me that.
Can you make a face like
Yes.
Let's see it. No.
See me privately afterwards.
Oh man. Can you time travel into the future right now? It really shocked me when I read about this time travel thing. And tell us if in 100 years someone will be writing about the hidden jokes and or secrets in this book. If so, I want one now.
I can't imagine 100 years from now, because I'll be 165, and I won't know any secrets or hidden anything. I don't know that I've got anything hidden, but when you write even fiction, you know more about the person than anybody else knows. Even whether you write it down or not, you know your character very well, and there's a lot of stuff you don't ever divulge to the reader. but I don't have any particular right now.
For later, right? Because I was a stepchild myself, one of my favorite stories is the red-headed stepchildren. It's so Kathi, harper-hill, a brilliant character wondering, why, and receiving an answer as though from heaven, full of compassion and side-stitching giggles too. Tell me, why do Appalachian people have such a fixation with the red-headed stepchild?
You know, I don't know, but I heard that all my life. They're treating her like a red-headed stepchild. The weird thing is, and I didn't realize this till I moved away for a few years, when I was growing up, about every fourth person was red-headed, naturally red-headed here, because we were so isolated and the Scotch-Irish had a lot of red hair. I didn't realize how rare a pocket we were in until I moved to Cobb County, and you saw a redhead occasionally. And then I came back home and I'm like, there's redheaded people everywhere. So I don't know why we would use that phrase when almost everybody, there isn't a family in Gilmer County that's here more than 3 generations that don't at least have redheaded cousins or something.
That's true. Yeah.
That's true. Okay. Life of an Appalachian woman is all about plants and animals and seasons and how people fit into the great pattern of life. Can you speak to your own perception of how these patterns are rooted in the life of an Appalachian woman, say, like Mama, of Mama's house?
Not more than a few generations ago, if you wanted to eat, you were outside planting a garden. My great-granddaddy was so aggravated with my Mama Hill because she saved the bank right across the little dusty trail of their house and planted flowers, and he called them purdies. You can't eat no purdies. And he really resented that she had them. I don't know, but I just know there's something very special about getting outside and putting your hands in dirt. Whether it's digging worms to fish, or planting some purdies, or whether you're planting beans. Now, our garden is a raised garden, and that means David, plants mostly tomatoes and green beans because we found out that's our favorite and that's what we want. But I get such satisfaction of getting out in the car and walking over there and getting this warm, fat, ripe red tomato. Oh, I can hardly wait to get to the house and get the blue plate and the bread and make me a sandwich. Now, I don't know if that's just really Appalachian or if people would just get out there and get in the dirt, they would find out what I'm talking about.
I love to dig too. I've heard it said that many writers create characters from childhood, and you've kind of talked about that a little bit. I see that in your characters, but you seem to have a unique insight into the mind of men. Is that an Appalachian woman thing, to really get men? Speak about one of your men. Say my favorite character, Luther Dooley.
I love Luther Dooley too. He's the main character, and that's what Friends Are For, a short story in this book. I was around men as a child. I followed my granddaddy in the garden. He kept me, while he was working. And I was around my other granddaddy a good bit. When I was real little, I rode with my daddy. He worked for the state and inspected, I don't really know what he inspected, something about the feed for chicken houses or something. And before I started school, I went with him everywhere. And I went fishing. I remember being on his shoulders in the middle of the river while he was fly fishing. And a lot of my buddies were guys. And then when I became like a teenager, I didn't have but maybe 1 or 2 really close girlfriends because girls were just so much trouble and they were so dramatic and so histrionic, and I was like, oh my Lord. So I had guy friends instead. And up until I got about my mid-30s, I didn't have a lot of female friends close. In fact, David, when we first started dating, said, you're a lot like one of the guys. So I said, thank you. and I had a lot of guys, still have a lot of guy friends, and that was one of the things when David and I decided to get married in about 5 minutes after we met, was that I have a lot of guy friends, and they are buddies, they are true friends, and so I'm going to be talking to these guys, but there's no romance. And he said at first it was kind of hard, you know, when Steve would call me up after supper and tell me a horrible, stupid joke or this, that, or the other, but he doesn't mind anymore. But so maybe it's because I'm one of the guys.
Would you really burn an $8 million lottery ticket?
No.
And yet she made a character do that for a beautiful reason. That was awesome. Maybe it was crazy, though, a little bit. I would like to know how some of your stranger characters come forth. Like, where did you get Darby, Big, and Sarge? And have you ever not been able to speak except in the morning? Not talking about that.
I've had laryngitis twice, as poor Sharon has today. But I remember waking up one morning, I was about 13 years old, and nothing would come out. It was like a squeaking, and that's happened once before. Darby and Big and Sarge, they happened just really quickly. I was going to was getting ready to teach a writer's workshop. And we were going to learn things all morning, and then when we came back from lunch, the assignment was going to be to write something under 700 words, and I was going to give people about 30 minutes. When I told them that, I thought they were going to have a heart attack. They thought that was ridiculous. Excuse me. But anyway, it could be a short story, essay, it could be just describing what you saw out the window. But I thought, can I do that? So I just went to the computer and wrote that.